Alright, what's up, my people? Part 2, how to be a man. You see, in the last video, I believe I spoke on turning yourself into a warrior. You have to turn yourself into a warrior in this world. Now, I understand. With the way that life is set up right now, you can get by just fine without lifting the weight, without going to war, without preparing for war and things like that. I understand you get by just fine. But also, due to negligence and due to that fact, we guys can make ourselves extremely soft. The problem with that is that we lead families. And when we lead families, where the head is a softy, a big softy, a pushover, whatever that may be, then it trickles down to the children. And you say, well, it's great for children and grown people alike to have a heart of gold, to have a soft heart. I do understand that, but the soft heart has to be protected by a hardened exterior. Kind of literally, but mostly figuratively. So here's the damage. Here's the damage that I believe when we talk about the trickle down effect. Your kids, let's say your son, he inherits this softness in a world that doesn't necessarily cater to that, although it will allow it. He becomes a victim of being bullied, like a lot of us, and he internalizes it and does not know what to do about it. All right. So who that person will likely turn to is his parents. A child is going to, I think, for the most part, a child is going to replicate what his parents will do in that situation. And I don't have a son yet, but if I did have a son who ends up getting bullied, it may happen. I want him to be like, okay, well, my dad in this situation, he would confront that person. He probably would. My child wouldn't be able probably to piece it together the way that I'm doing it, but subconsciously he'll understand that this is a release. This is standing your ground. This is standing up for yourself. So actually, this is a great segue to my first point. Is just don't back down. Now, I kind of spoke on this in the last video. I just don't remember exactly what I was saying in relation to this. But we don't back down. So we don't go starting anything with anybody. We don't go banging on our chest. We don't group up and, gang up on somebody. And like I said, we don't start the drama. But when it comes to us, we have to do something about the situation. We have to make sure that it doesn't escalate beyond that. We have to make sure that the person who does us wrong hears about it. You know what I'm saying? So, although I have a past of, fighting a lot, getting into a lot of fist fights, I'm not saying it has to go there. But if you're able to speak up for yourself at a young age, it really does set the pace. It sets the tempo for how you'll see yourself in the mirror in the world as you get older. And also, that type of energy will depict how people will treat you. That doesn't mean people won't try you, but you become more equipped for it and you don't take it personally. Alright, because people come from all different types of backgrounds, and when we talk about bullying, what we found is that a lot of kids end up bullying because you think because of what's happening at home they get beat a lot or whatever. That may be the case, but oftentimes this may be surprising, is that their parents aren't around a lot. So their parents may work a lot. One parent may be missing, and then you got, the mom or the father, working a lot, or they may be on drugs or whatever, but they're not getting enough attention. And one of the quickest ways to get attention is by doing something bad. All right? Looking back at my life, that was the case for me. I got attention through doing bad things, so I just kept doing bad things. Alright? But the message of all of this, and I'm sorry that it took me so long to say this is that when you stand your ground subconsciously, you don't feel as trapped. You don't feel as powerless. All right, you feel like you can take matters into your own hands because you can. As a young person, it's hard to get that through to them, the long-term effects of standing up for yourself or not standing up for yourself. But as an adult who's trying to lead a family, the message has to be extremely clear. All right, so they'll be paying attention to how you address people who wrong you in public, in the line at Starbucks or whatever it is. All right, the way that you handle things, how you sit upright, stand upright, and you tell people exactly how you feel. All right, so yeah, confrontation is not a comfortable thing. I get that. I'm not necessarily comfortable with confrontation, but the quicker you address it, the harder it is for you to deal with. All right, you let it sit around and your mind start playing tricks with tricks on you, saying it start fucking with you after a while. I'm like, oh wow, you're just gonna let them talk to you like that? Oh, you're just gonna let them treat you like that? See, if you can allow for people to treat you this way, treat you that way, but it doesn't bother you, see, that's a different situation. That's going to send out a bit of energy in itself, and that doesn't mean you back down. If you let people get all rowdy with you and you can just be calm, more on that later. That sends a message also, because it's like, man, this dude is not phased. This dude is not phased by anything, and I want to speak on that a little later. So actually, I'll speak on that now. So the second part was calm when everybody else is worried. That's a big one for me. Because in the face of disaster, in the face of adversity, and it's like, damn, all my things are linking together. So let me just include the next one with it, because I hate trying to jump around when I'm trying to say and not giving you the full thing for the sake of getting the list going correctly. But so the third part is a master thinker. So I'm gonna tie this together, okay? So being calm when everybody else is worrying and being a master thinker. So there's a lot to be said. In fact, there is a need when everybody is worried and their emotions are taking over and sending the messages to the brain, to the person, saying that everything is going wrong, things like that. There is a need for somebody who can be objective, who can look at things from multiple aspects, not just the one that fits that particular narrative. All right, so calm when everybody else is worried, because he allows for logic to take over. All right, there's always room for emotion, but when emotion is too hyper in a situation that seems disastrous, a calamity of sorts, you need a thinking mind, a clear mind, to get through all of this. Now, if you can find a way to mentally prepare yourself to be calm for disastrous situations, you will be able to disperse said hostile situations, so you can carry on about your day, carry on about your life, focus on other things, because you didn't allow a disastrous situation, whatever that may be, a complex situation, to rule your day or ruin your day. So this is why I do things that kind of put me in a mindset of a stoic, knowing how emotional I can be, how emotional my background was, how dramatic it was. I do these things. This is why I do play the chess. Give me some time to think myself out of situations. All right, I do the cold showers to prepare me for the shocks of life, to prepare me for the discomfort of life. Same reason why I exercise in the morning. And of course, all of the neurological benefits that come from doing such a thing. It's all in preparation for the many wars or battles that we face in our day-to-day lives. All right, so actually, I'm gonna put out a video on reason. It's kind of like the reason why I believe we should turn ourselves into warriors or whatever. So I actually gotta flesh that out. It's still building in my mind. But to be calm when everybody is panicking, when everyone is worried, pretty much as a result of being a master thinker. A great man has to be a master thinker. When you think about, women are typically emotional, and they make emotional decisions. And a lot of us guys, a lot of us black men especially, for systematic reasons and all these other things, we grow up without fathers. So we are very emotional. So we end up being what they call hyper masculine. They call it hyper masculinity, but really what I think it is hyper femininity. It's because we reject our feminine nature and we try to turn it into something else, something that we try to pass it on as if we are being masculine about a situation, but that isn't really the case. So that's why it's even more beneficial, more natural to use our minds, okay? And I mean, a lot of people learn this the hard way. They learn this in jail. That's when they start picking up the chessboard. That's when they start picking up the books. But if you could hear me right now and you're kind of a fringe guy, you kind of on the fence, and you hang around people who are like troublemakers, or people who are troublemakers, or your brothers or whatever it is, hang around a bunch of troublemakers, then this is kind of a conduit to being a master thinker. You put books in their hands. You fucking force them to, you can't force anybody to do anything, but the idea is for them to get some books in their heads, all right, or put their heads in the books, both ways. You put them in front of a chessboard. You put them in challenging situations where they have to rely on themselves. And we do this thing in private because life is, I don't know how we get to this point, but we keep forgetting that life is going to throw a bunch of curveballs at us. This is why we practice. This is why people practice at anything they do. They practice for the game. So you gotta practice for the game. This is why we do this. All right. So the next thing is I can't even read my language. Oh yeah, okay. I read my language. I can't read my writing, but live by a code. Okay, you gotta live by a code. All right, you gotta sit down every so often to put down what you stand for. Write down what you stand for. Whatever you gotta do, recite it to yourself, meditate on it, all of these things. But you gotta have a code, and you don't break it for anybody. All right. Now maybe there's an in case of emergency box somewhere, but you live by a code. It's consistent. Whether people know what your code is or not, you're reliable and predictable in that regard because you stand for something. You know the saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I like to say this thing, it's like, if I feel like people don't have a backbone, I'll just be like, man, where's your wheelchair? Go get a wheelchair. Or I say, it's no wonder why you're not in a wheelchair, because you don't have a backbone. People stand for nothing, man. Just stand for nothing. Which brings me to my next point, somewhat my last point, is that you don't seek validation. All right, you go around seeking validation, you might as well just throw your code out the window, because that's it. You're going to do whatever it takes for you to get acknowledged. For a real man, and now the things I say are extremely subjective. You can disagree with me all you want, and that's fine. That's fine. A real man isn't going to seek validation. He's going to seek results. He's going to seek advancement, not for just his cause, but for the people around him. And I didn't write this down, but it has me thinking right now, is that a man is selfless. Now, my favorite animals are wolves, and there's a lot to learn about wolves. One thing that I really do like is that when a wolf goes for the kill, since you guys like to have this argument of who should get a plate first, should it be the kid, should it be the wife, should it be the man? The man should always get a plate first. Well, let me tell you what the wolves have to say about this. After a wolf hunts, he goes to get his kill, and they bring it back or whatever. He lets everybody else eat while he go relax, go chill for a little bit. And they know, those other wolves know what part is reserved for him. Alright? That's a message right there. So translation, you know who get the big piece of chicken if that's what you eat. You know, if that's in your diet, you know who get the big piece of chicken. Me personally, I don't mind who eats first. Go ahead, eat first. You're hungry. I'll take that time to focus on battle studies. Alright? Alright? Get your strength up, my fam. You know, get your strength up, lady, kids, get your strength up. Alright? Eat. Me, I'm gonna go read for a little bit. I'm gonna go exercise. Cause that's why I like to exercise right before I eat. So I just feel like, yep, time to feed the beast. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't see a lot of us men, we so prideful that we worry about things that don't even matter. I gotta get my plate first. Why? Why does it matter if you get your plate first? You think it shows dominance? Dominance shows dominance. Alright? Fuck, let people appreciate you, man. Like, damn. Just be like, you can't count on kids to understand this at a young age. You can't always count on grown-ass people to understand this. But if the argument is that you're the earner, you're the provider, and all of this and that, it'll show. You don't have to beat on your chest. You just make sure that there's plenty for you when it's all said and done. And if there isn't plenty for you, that has nothing to do with the woman or the kids. It's you. Because any dominant person can tell you that they don't have any issues with people who don't respect that who are close to them. You know? If they do have issues, because they're not really dominant. And they just banging on their goddamn chest. You handle business, and then you go to your battle studies. Alright? You unwind for a little bit, and then you eat. There's so many things that you can do before you eat. While they're feasting, let them eat. God, it's not a big deal. Alright? So we do this for the sake of others. This is why we go hard. Now again, I'm going to put out a video on kind of why we have to be warriors if we're going to lead a family. And I kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to get very much in depth with that. So the last thing, I kind of put this in the middle, but I'm honestly kind of on the fence with this one because I feel like women could be a part of this too, but because of I don't see it enough in men, I feel like I gotta mention this, is that men build. Alright? So, obviously when I talk about building, you talk about building houses and working on cars with their hands and all. Yeah, definitely, I understand that. Now I'm good with my hands, but I'm not the type of person to build you a house. I can learn how to do it. I'm pretty sure. I was working in carpentry for a little bit. I could learn how to work on cars. That's not really my thing. So my definition of build is something like this. Get in the habit of building a YouTube channel, building up a book catalog, which you all can check out. I got more of that coming up, but just build. You build so they can come. You build so you can pass it on to your children. All of these things. You build up knowledge so you can pass it on. Build, build, build. Alright? So there's so many ways to go about that. And the big reason why I in this video, in the last video, I didn't say a man has, I don't know if I spoke on, you gotta exercise or whatever, but a real, one of the main reasons why I didn't say that a real man has to be macho and all of these things is because the building aspect. You can be a complete nerd. And I know how I started this conversation off, but I won't look past the fact that you can be a complete nerd. You build up a system that many generations can take advantage of. Many, of your own family can benefit from. So if you take a Bill Gates, he's a nerdy guy, but he even equips himself for the world through books, through information. All right. So and if shit really hit the fan, Bill Gates, he can get himself an army. He may already have one, but he can afford himself an army, and also he's extremely strategic, tactical, all of these things that, it doesn't matter if he lifts a weight or not. He doesn't have to physically go to war. But build. You build something for the sake of others, to my point earlier. you build so you can have something to stand on, because people, any given moment, your job can decide that they don't want you to be a part of what they got going on anymore. Your group can kick you out, whatever it is, whatever thing you're a part of. If you don't run it, you don't own it, you didn't build it, you can get kicked out from it. I mean, a lot of people done build some things where they could get kicked out from it. I don't understand how that works completely, but it happens. So you gotta build things so they will come. Build things so you will benefit from it. People in future generations can benefit from it as well. And with that being said, I hope you got some value out of this. Again, I'm being subjective here. I didn't really flesh this out, just things that came to my mind, and I tried to compile this list without being toxic, without being narrow-minded, because I understand that there's multiple ways to be a man, for real. So handle your business. I don't know if there's a part 3, but I was just summing this one up by saying handle your business. To my point in the first video, whatever needs to be done, you do it. All right, no time for excuses and complaining. All right, best wishes, my friends. Take care, like and subscribe and all that good shit.